So Bungie has absolutely nerfed the entirety of Destiny 2 with this most recent patch, and it's pretty insane. We're going to go through the patch notes. We're going to go through everything that's basically changed in this hotfix. This is hotfix 7.0.0.7, so it's available now. At the time of recording, the patch notes were just posted a couple of hours ago. And I did a little bit of testing just to see, if I could feel a little bit of a difference with some of the stuff. I did to an extent. Obviously, there's only so much I can really test in a short kind of span, but I did a couple little kind of, feeler tests just really quickly. So we're going to go through everything that has changed. Let me know what you guys think about these changes. By the way, they've nerfed commendation score again for Guardian ranks, which is absolutely hilarious. So that has actually been nerfed further. So for example, I think rank 7 was like what before? I think it was like 700 and something, was it? I can't remember exactly. And then I don't know if you remember, I made a video on it. They basically had nerfed it down to 460. So you only needed 460 commendation score to hit rank 7 in Guardian rank. Now they've nerfed it even further. They've dropped it down to 100. The next patch is probably going to be down to 10 at this point. I'm not complaining at all because, again, a lot of people are just not having it, man. A lot of people just are not feeling the whole commendation score thing, especially for Guardian rank. A lot of people just were not having it, man. A lot of people just like, dude, we shouldn't have to, do any kind of commendation score for Guardian ranks. And if we do, it shouldn't be very much whatsoever. It's pretty crazy how hard they nerfed it. So you know what? The UIUX section of the patch notes is actually halfway through, but let's start with that. I'm going to throw that up on screen first. We'll do other sections. There's some crazy patch notes in here, by the way. It's pretty insane, including difficulty and everything like that. So we'll start with the UIUX. So you can see reduced combination score required for Guardian rank 7, 8, and 9. For Guardian rank 7, it was 460, which was already reduced from like 7 something. Again, I can't remember the first iteration of it anymore. I'd have to go back to my other video and check it out. But anyways, that's reduced now to 100. Rank 8 was 790, now it's 250, and rank 9 was 1290, and now it's 500. I'm really glad. I'm really glad because honestly, it's it's tedious. That said, I'm already at like 14 something anyway, so it wouldn't have phased me personally. But I understand, a lot of people don't have time to play this many activities and hope that they get enough, combination score. They've also removed Guardian rank objectives that require players to give commendations from rank 7, 8, and 9, which makes literally no sense. Removed Guardian rank objectives that require, oh, sorry, never mind. It makes sense. I was complete stupid moment there. So you might be wondering, if you're like me and you just had a stupid moment, let me explain it. So Guardian rank, combination score, yes, you need that combination score, but objectives is like, oh, I have to give X amount of commendations in a nightfall, let's say, right? Like 10 in a nightfall or something like that. They've removed those kind of objectives, so you don't have to do that kind of stuff anymore, which is really nice. They've also reduced the number of commendations required for Hawthorne's weekly challenges from 20 to 5. So instead of having to give out 20 commendations for Hawthorne's weekly challenge, you only have to give 5 now. I mean, really nice changes. Glad to hear that they're actually paying attention and whatnot. All right, let's go to the general stuff, and then we'll end it with the gameplay and investment. So for the general stuff, a lot of stuff has been changed there too. So for armor, they've reduced the number of additional scorch stacks added by the flare up artifact perk in PvP to 15, down from 30. Weapons, so they fixed an issue where the target lock trait was not correctly deactivating on a miss if the weapon was firing at 720 RPM or higher. Fixed an issue where some players were unable to acquire the Risk Runner Catalyst, and they finally fixed the issue where Quicksilver Storm and Touch of Malice were not receiving the 40% damage bonus against minor enemies. So now minor enemies should melt a little bit quicker with those two weapons, the Quicksilver Storm and a Touch of Malice. Better late than never. It's been a long wait, but hey, I love the Quicksilver Storm personally, so that's why I'm glad that they finally fixed that. Power and progression fixed an issue where certain ghost and weapon mods were not correctly unlocked when progressing through Guardian ranks, and also they fixed an issue where certain new players were missing access to patrol destinations. So again, some pretty nice changes with the general stuff going on there. And then we'll just end it off with the gameplay and investment. So this is nice. We got a few different sections. So for Trials of Osiris, they fixed an issue where wins on a 7-win Trials passage would reward unfocusable Trials of Osiris engrams. So we got that, and they're going to be focusable now. Neo Muna Free Roam reduced the prevalence of elite orange health bar enemies to lower the base difficulty of free roam, which is really nice because Neo Muna Free Roam was a little bit challenging, weirdly, for like just a kind of, you know, destination free roam. They also fixed an issue that was causing Cabal turrets in Ahisma Park, if I'm pronouncing that right, to respawn too quickly. For Root of Nightmares, they fixed an issue where Nezarek whatever, however you want to say it, would not react to players that were positioned in a Well of Radiance. And then for difficulty, this is where things get interesting. Combatant health scaling for 2 and 3 player fire teams has been reduced in the Season 20 Legendary Exotic mission, which I'm really glad for, because I've been trying to run this with one of my buddies, and we would have been able to do it. It was really tricky at the time, but we kind of gave up for a while because it kept crashing. So hopefully that's also fixed, so we can just jump in and finally get those, you know, those done. And they also reduced enemy health in Legend and Master tier for Nightfalls, Battlegrounds, Lost Sectors, Offensives, Hunts, and Legend and Master campaign missions. So they've reduced enemy health in all of those things, which is kind of nice. I know people like challenges, but man, there's challenges and challenges. And I don't know what it was, but going into Lightfall, everything seemed like it was just like cranked to 11. Now here's the thing, right? I mentioned this in a previous video where I didn't really pay much attention to like build crafting for the longest time. It was one element where I just didn't feel like getting into it. And I know, you know, ever since they introduced it, it's kind of like one thing that you really need to focus on. But here's the thing. At the beginning of Lightfall, or just pre-Lightfall, actually, yeah, right at the beginning of Lightfall, I started focusing on it a little bit more. I got a couple of good buddies to help me out. Actually, one specific good friend of mine, Connor, helped me, you know, tremendously with that, and my son as well, who are both really good at doing that kind of thing. And so I got some, you know, really good builds going. I watched some, you know, a lot of videos, you know, people explaining build crafting. I'm getting to a point, so just bear with me. And I did all that, right? And I got a pretty crazy stasis build. I got a pretty solid and pretty crazy strand build that just, you know, it uses woven mail. So I got that, you know, reduction on incoming damage, and I got like crazy melee, so I can constantly, like, you know, clear out ads like crazy. I got all of that going on for me, man. I got some pretty solid builds that it worked, you know, I worked on, you know, with, like I said, with my buddy and my son. And so with that, the funny thing is with that, certain things still felt harder, which was weird. I'm like, dude, okay, I finally got into build crafting, and still certain activities are still feeling like they're like tricky, where I should have been, you know, having a little bit of a better time with them. I mean, technically I will say I was, you know, kind of having a better time, you know, especially with like the legendary lost sectors. But even then, like the legendary lost sectors, that is something that I was doing without build crafting, believe it or not, pre-Lightfall. And post Lightfall, with, you know, all my build crafting that I had going on, you know, like I said, there'd be legendary lost sectors where the surge was, you know, stasis, and I would use my stasis build or strand. And like I said, I got really solid builds for those. And yet I was having the same trouble as I did before I even invested into, you know, build crafting, which made no sense to me. And so I'm like, oh, well, you know, maybe it's just one of those things. It's not, you know, whatever. So I don't know. All that to say, I think my point being is that it felt like they kind of really cranked up the challenge, you know, drastically. And I've seen a lot of people online saying the same thing. I know some people are out there are gonna say, you just don't know how to play. Whatever, man, maybe, you know. But I think I could play pretty solidly. You know, am I a solo speed runner on master, you know, raids or something? Absolutely not, right? I don't even know if has anyone ever actually done that? I haven't paid attention. But the point is, you know, I might not be like the best player in the world, but I'm a pretty solid player. I hold my own for the most part. So I don't know. All that to say that, you know, I'm glad that they've reduced the enemy health personally in those things, and I'm glad that they've, you know, tweaked the combatant health scaling, and they've reduced that. At least in the Season 20 Legendary Exotic mission, because that one was pretty tricky, man. Like I was going in it with just 2 people, and we had some solid builds. We know what we're doing, and it was still rough out here, man. It was taking us quite a while just to advance. And you know, that's even without dying necessarily constantly. It's just the enemies were just, you had to really kind of take your time, and the enemies were just super tanky. So nice to see these changes. Personally speaking, I think it's good, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you welcome these changes? Do you think that, you know, it's too much nerfing? I don't know. How do you feel about them? I think most people, the average person, will probably be on board and they'll like these changes. But at the same time, look at the comments anywhere on this video, on Twitter, anywhere else, and there's always going to be people that are going to be, you know, having clashed opinions. And that really puts into perspective that Bungie, it gives Bungie a hard time to like really balance these things, because you got so many differing opinions coming in on this topic. But hopefully they got it in a place where it's at least somewhere in the middle, where, you know, everybody can at least find some satisfaction in it. So let me know. Stick around for more Destiny content and everything else gaming, and I'll see you soon in another one. Till then, my friends, game on, and thanks for watching.